Alright, hello again guys, Miss Scott reporting to you live from Miss Scott's room. As I promised, we were going to do more calculations with gravitational potential energy and kinetic energy, and here we are. So, let's do this thing. So remember, we say gravitational potential energy, abbreviated GPE for our convenience, is simply equal to the mass of something in kilograms times free fall acceleration, which is always 9.8 meters per second squared, times height. So mass times free fall times height, and height is always in meters. Or if you're not given the mass of something in kilograms, but rather you're given it's the FG, which is just another word for weight, in newtons, equals FG, newtons, and all that is mass times free fall, so big, times however high it is. So, the more mass you have, the more newtons you have, the more potential energy you have, the higher up something is due to its position. So if I get on top of a 10-foot high diving platform, I have more potential energy there than if I were standing on one that's only 2 meters tall. So you increase any one of these numbers, you increase either mass or height, you increase energy. This number is always the same though. So we did a calculation in our intro where we just did the calculate GPE. We'll do a few more of those, and then we'll see what you do if you're not asked necessarily for that. So let's start. So let's say I have, I don't know, a box. A big box of mystery stuff, I don't know. And this box has a mass of 15 kilograms. Alright? 15 kilograms, that's important to know. And this thing is sitting on a shelf, and this shelf is 2 meters high. All you have to do, gravitational potential energy, calculate gravitational potential energy, and just to remind you, that's the potential energy of something due to its position above the Earth's surface. So GPE will be equal to 15 kilograms times 9.8. Again, 9.8, you need to know that number. Meters per second squared times height in meters, which is 2. So I'm going to plug that into my calculator right now. 15 times 9.8 times 2. And that, the number it spits out at me, is 294. 294 is the number that comes out of my calculator. The unit I have is J, and we know that J, of course, stands for joules, so that's how much energy, how much gravitational potential energy is in this 15 kilogram box sitting 2 meters above the surface of the Earth. That's pretty easy stuff. So you know if you have kilograms and height, you just throw all that, you just multiply all that together, multiply by 9.8, and you spit a number out, and you put the J at the end of it, and you're done. Okay, easy enough, easy enough. Now what happens, let's say you're not given that necessarily. You might be given, you are going to come across examples where you're not given mass and height, mass and height, mass and height. You're not necessarily always going to be given that. You have to read very carefully into your problems and see what you have and what they're actually looking for. So if I have, let me just write this down really fast. So object has a GPE of, I don't know, let's say 814 joules, and is suspended I'm just making up these numbers off the top of my head. If you want to practice, just make up your own problems. 4 meters above the ground. Alright, so this is a question it would be plausible to see on an exam and you see these numbers, you have 8, 14, and 4. Now be very careful. I know what some of you are wanting to do. You're wanting to say 8, 14 times 9.8 times 4. Boom, enter. Fortunately, that's not what you want to do. You have to read and make sure what you have is going in the right place. So, what I would do, if I were you, good habit for any problem solving is to underline your important information. So the important information, anything with a number is going to probably be important. This. Okay. GPE of 814 joules. I know that's gravitational potential energy. J is joules, energy. And suspended by a wire. So it's suspended by a wire 4 meters above the ground. All right. So 814 and 4. I know those were my numbers to start with. Now what do I do with them? Well, what you do, you look in this formula, and you see, what do I have? Where do I put these numbers? So I see GPE here. I know I'm going to put it right here. So in fact, now I'll leave it there. So I'll put 814 on this side of my equation equals mass. Let's see, I look here. The only other number I have is 4. And that's 4 meters. Now I know meters is not mass. Meters is my height. So I'm going to put right here, I'm just going to leave this as mass because I don't know what it is yet. Times, I know my free fall acceleration is 9.8. I can go ahead and put that in there. You can always be seeing that as long as we're talking about things on Earth, that's the number that's going there. And we're always talking about things on Earth, for the most part. Times this, times 4. So now I have to solve for this. I know what I'm looking for is not energy, it's not acceleration, it's not height, it's mass. So, what do? I have to get this mass by itself on one side of the equation. So what I would do first, multiplication is a super nifty little operation in that it doesn't matter which order the numbers go in, you can combine them, it's the same either way. So I would multiply first off, multiply 9.8 meters per second squared times 4. That equals 39.2. And now I have to get rid of this 39.2 on this side. And what I do here, this is, you're going to revisit your intro to algebra classes, middle school stuff. This should sound familiar, hopefully. In order to get rid of it, you have to do the opposite. You have to do the opposite operation. Well, what's happening on this side is that you're multiplying. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to take all that, I'm going to divide it by 39.2. When you divide something by itself, it turns it into a 1, and you can pretend it's not there. Yay! And of course, what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. You have to keep them the same. So divide 814 by 39.2. Let me go ahead and put that into my handy dandy calculator. 39.2. That equals a mass. So the mass I get ends up being 20, and I'm just going to do 3 digits, 3 significant figures, 20.7 kilograms. Kilograms is my standard unit for mass. Please remember that. You can't, if I left it 20.7, that's not correct. I don't know 20.7 what? 20.7 meters, 20.7 miles, 20.7 watermelon. I don't know. You have to tell me. You have to tell me. That's something you just have to do. Alright, so let's try one more. Let's do one more. I will pause. I will do awkward pauses throughout this video as we do this problem. That is your chance to work by your little selves with your little brains, which I know you can. Alright. Now, And again, completely making these numbers up. Alright, so this is our first awkward pause. Please find me the relevant information, and where should I put those numbers in this formula? Awkward pause. Alright, awkward pause is over. So, hopefully, you were able to find A, find your numbers. Well, there's a 7, mass of 7 kilograms, and GPE of 230 joules. Yay! So if you found it, way to go. If you didn't, work on it. Rewind this video and find it again. So, during that awkward pause, you also put them in the right place. You know that 230 joules, that goes on this side. 230 equals mass 7 times 9.8 times this number we don't know, which is height. I'll just leave it as an H. Alright, awkward pause again. Combine these terms and solve for H. I'll give you Alright, awkward pause is over again. So you combine these terms, 7 times 9.8, and during that pause, I should have looked it up, which I didn't, but there I did. 230 joules is equal to 68.6. When you combine mass and free fall, just super fun fact, it becomes newtons. I don't really care if you put that in your equation or not. I mean, you should know that, but I'm not going to dock you points for it. Times H, you know you do the opposite in order to get rid of that number. So divided by 68.6, divided by 68.6, so 230 over 68.6, and that number becomes my height. H is equal to 3, and again, I'll do 3 digits because I like 3 sig figs, they make my life easy. 3.35 meters. And hopefully this is the answer you got. If you do not, please double check your work, double check my work, because I make mistakes too. So that is how we do that. So, awesome. So, please comment if you have any questions. If you did not, if you're still super lost after this video, please feel free to comment, and I will get back to you ASAP. Yay, science!